But yeah, so we're gonna have fun. We're gonna make a few small bites and kind of get into it.
Sounds amazing. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Super awesome news. I came in and I was like, whoa, what's happening? This changes the entire script. I'm just kidding, I don't have a script. You'll be able to tell that pretty soon, okay? All right, so Chef, tell us about what you're making today and why you're making it, I think is just as important.
Yeah, so we are making a tostada, our tuna tostada. So if you guys don't know, I'm from San Diego. So I have family that live in Tijuana, and then Ensenada as well. So tostadas is kind of part of my culture just growing up. Eating tuna tostadas, like mixed tostadas with octopus and shrimp. So very seafood focused. If you've never been to Diego, there's a lot of different options for tacos and tostadas.
Looks like we got a tuna loin here.
Tuna loin, so this is actually bluefin tuna I got today. I had to run to the purveyor because one of my sous chefs forgot to order it. But it's beautiful, it's from Regales. They get Pacifico off of Baja, bluefin tuna. We often serve yellowfin tuna. Yellowfin tuna runs like closer to like around the 300 to 500 pound range, and then bluefin tuna you'll see up to about 1,000 pounds. This is the center loin, but going down to like the tail section. What we're gonna do is we're gonna break it up. If you can see in the tuna, we have the kame right here, which is like the top portion. It's a lot more tender. And then we have the otoro, which is this section here, and then the chutoro. So we're gonna break it up into what we call soco blocks, and we're gonna use our fancy Japanese knife in order to do so. This is something that I love in cooking. It's like you find like your little niches, and one of them is like breaking down fish and working with fish product. It's something very relaxing, and it's like one of the things I look forward to most days in the hustle and bustle and going into the kitchen. So I'm using a wet towel just to kind of keep it smooth, so if you don't, your knife's gonna kind of crust up during this process. Here I'm gonna just make it easier on myself. I'm gonna break this up into probably like 3 sections here.
And if you're doing this at home, right, you want to go out and spend a couple $100 on a loin. I'm just telling you, make sure your knife's sharp, okay? Like that Cutco thing you got for Christmas in like 1993 is probably not the knife for it, but unless you're keeping it super sharp, then it is, but.
So here we have our tuna. I'm gonna process the rest later. You can go about this a few different ways. Some people like to take off the skin at this point. I think I'm going to. And you can also get this skinless. And then so we have the skin here. And then you can, if you would like, this is a nice fatty portion from the chutoro. You can use a spoon and make some nice tartare from this as well. And that makes another nice little tostada. I have a little bit of a bloodline here, so I'm gonna work that off. I'm gonna take the knife and kind of just run it, and I'm gonna watch where my knife is kind of going down to the tuna and how much I want to scrape off. So we're gonna go here.
And Chef, in your world, is there ever a time you are using that piece of scrap right there?
A little bit. I mean, you can. There's still some good meat. Again, this is what I would cut off and use it for tartare. The bloodline, some chefs use it, but we don't use it currently in the restaurant.
Fairly bitter, yeah?
Yeah.
That bloodline? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I've seen like chefs make sausage with it too, like blood sausage and things like that. But
oh, very cool. Yeah, I like that idea.
So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna take off the kame. It's a little bit more fibrous right here in the chutoro. So I'm just gonna go straight across, and I'm gonna use the whole knife in order to get that piece off, like so. And then here, I'm gonna break this into a soco block. Then we have another piece. Another. And then here it gets a little trickier, but what I like to do is take this, flip it the way, and then you're gonna run against the fibers and then run it off. And then this could be actually used for a soco block too.
Cool, and then I don't know if you guys can see this up here, but Chef has got some, looks like roasted garlic confit going on here. Chef, why don't you talk to us about a little bit, what do you have going on up here?
Sure, so we're making a salsa macha, very popular And I've been around salsa matcha for a very long time. And then I think in like the last 3 years, it just kind of took off. And now even restaurants that aren't even Mexican and like are incorporating it on like the modern American menus. So it's just confit garlic that we have some in oil. We bring it up very slowly. So yeah, salsa matcha, it's very much like a Baja Norte thing. You'll see it in like a lot of the Mariscos places, but you'll see it in Veracruz. They have their variations. Usually when you think salsa matcha, it's oil-based, chilies, nuts, and a little bit of vinegar. That's like kind of, and garlic, of course. Those are like the main components. But in Baja Norte, there's a lot of places that don't use nuts in salsa matcha, which I think every single variation that I've seen outside of what we do is always has nuts. But I actually truly like the one without nuts sometimes. And there's a place for the salsa matchas with nuts. In this case, I make my salsa matcha very simple. It's like just the garlic, the oil. You bring up the oil and the garlic together until it's like nicely softened, slightly caramelized. You take it off the heat, and then you add your chilies. You don't want to, we were talking about this before, but with salsa matcha, there's things, if the chilies are too dry, there's always going to be like a little bit of moisture, but sometimes you get really, really dry chilies. And some people, they'll put them in there and they cook it for too long, and then you kind of get that like grainy salsa matcha. I like working with like the raisiny kind of chilies, like anchos, and then moritas. Some people use guajillos. I feel like they're a little too waxy sometimes. They have great flavor, but they can be kind of, I don't know, have a little bit of brittleness on the palate. So in this case, I'm doing a salsa matcha with ancho moritas. I do like, I don't know what our recipe is, I forgot it, but it's like 40 anchos to like 10 moritas. So it's like a 4-to-1 ratio in there. Here they are. So these ones actually have like a nice like raisiny. Ancho chilies, I love, because again, going back to that like sweetness that they bring, and they have that raisin note to it. Guajillos also can be very bitter. Moritas, they have a little bit of bitterness, but they have a great smokiness and heat to them. But I also add a third chili in mine, which is the chiltepin or piquin pepper, just to add a little bit more spice to it. The anchos doesn't have too much spice. Moritas has a good amount of spice, but if you add too much, it's bitter. Piquin will just get it to right where it needs to be more quickly.
And are you seeding these, chef, before you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take out the seeds. Let's see. Yeah, they look pretty good.
Why is that? Is it just for a better eating experience, or does
really
it add like a
digest them that well.
bitterness? What's that?
They're not really digestible that well
they're
in your
not.
system.
They're like the corn of the chili world.
Yeah. Yeah, like most of the time you take out the seeds, and like the veins have like a lot of the heat too. So some people take out the veins, but I don't take out the veins. But if you go to like Mexico and they have those like pre-made mole paste, they're not de-seeding them or anything. They're just throwing them and just grinding them. But yeah, it's supposed to be like mostly like a digestive thing, but yeah, it could add bitterness to it.
Awesome.
So I'm just gonna go off the heat. This is actually not quite as hot as I would want it. I'm gonna bring it up a little bit. I'm gonna put the chili. Usually I would take it off the heat, but I know this oil's kind of cooled down a little bit since I've been talking up here. This is kind of a lot of chilies.
So maybe a good time to say, if you're doing this at home, make sure you get a deep enough pot. You don't need to be starting a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what your insurance policy is. That's on you. I know nothing, but that's awesome. So you brought up something kind of interesting, because before I could even ask you the question, you said you preferred salsa matchas without nuts.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. So here's a two-parter, chef. I'm going to throw you a curveball. So if you are putting nuts in, why? Like, is it because it's got to stand up to like a gamier meat, or like a more cruciferous vegetable? And not only that, but what is your preferred nut to put into a salsa matcha?
That's a good question. I think with like some of the meats, I like to have some like nuts in there, depending on it. Like seafood, I like peanuts.
Yeah.
I'm a peanut guy, but you don't see peanuts much on too many menus, because it's the allergy is so severe. It's the most severe allergy that you can have if you do have allergies. So like peanuts are almost like kind of off menus. But I'm doing an event tomorrow where I made a peanut salsa. It's
going off the rails. I like it, Chef.
But definitely putting it in large letters. So some people that do have the allergy definitely don't try it.
Tell them about your event tomorrow and what's going on. This is kind of cool. You were talking to me about it earlier today.
Doing another event tomorrow with one of my old mentors, Rick Bayless. So it's called the Homecoming. Essentially, he's taking old chefs that he has worked with or he has mentored and have gone off on their own and are kind of doing their own thing now and like bringing them back for like a homecoming special. So there's a good lineup. If you guys know Chef Rishi, he used to be the chef at Bar Sotano, but now he just opened Mira this year. He's a good friend of mine. Carlos, who used to actually be one of my sous chefs, opened a restaurant called Istmo, Oaxacan restaurant. It's very good as well. So I think they're coming in a little after me, but throughout the next few months, we'll all be kind of coming in and hanging out with Rick and making tacos. So it should be fun. If you're around, please join.
So let's talk about mentorship. First of all, that's pretty badass, right? Let's give a round of applause. Sounds like you've come just a really long way. So speaking of mentorship, Rick Bayless, I'm sure you've had many mentors throughout your life. How important is it for you to be a mentor, to teach people? I've worked with a myriad of different cooks and chefs, and some guys want to show you everything. Other guys, or girls, I've worked with women too. They're like, I'm going to give you about 80% of this recipe, and then we're going to just call it a day because this is what I built my name on. How do you approach that? How do you approach like the work culture in the kitchen?
Sure.
Whereas like when I was coming up, like if you didn't get a pan thrown at you, that was a good day, right? So you can't do that anymore. So how do you approach that culture and your mentorship to your employees?
Yeah. A lot of my mentors are chefs that I worked with, especially early in my career. Rick is like an exception. He's like a unicorn, It's like he's so nice. But yeah, I grew up in those types of kitchen chefs that have worked for chefs like that, and it's just kind of been passed on over the years. I think I'm naturally a nicer person. I'd rather not like go about my day being a dick and like degrading people or whatnot. But I think it's one of those things. I tell people that work under me, it's like they're like, oh, like if it's their first sous chef position, it's like, oh, like I'm gonna have to learn to do the schedules and all that. I'm like, dude, that stuff's easy. Like the hardest part of your day is gonna be managing people. Being in management is the hardest part because you're dealing with personalities. So you have to learn to kind of find your voice and how you approach your employees, and in some cases, sometimes you have to be a dick, and sometimes you have to be a coach. But if you kind of are the nice guy all the time, then your people are going to figure out a way to walk all over you. They're going to start calling off on you. They're going to start, leaving early or stuff like that, and you're going to have to pick up the scraps, and it's going to weigh you down. And, those are some of the lessons that you learn being in a kitchen, because you have a mixed bag of variables with the people that you're bringing up. As far as like sharing my recipes and all that kind of stuff, like I'm an open book. I don't think there are secrets in the kitchen. You just like evolve and you kind of figure out like how you want to cook. I think it's weird when chefs are like super secretive about their stuff. It's like super weird.
Bro, it's a PB&J. Like, what really did you do to it?
Yeah. And if like people copy you, then whatever.
Hey man, it's the best form of flattery,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Unless they're making $10 million a year, then you.
Yeah.
Bitch, give me my residuals, right?
Exactly.
So those soak just for about 5-6 minutes, right, Chef?
Yeah, I would usually let it go longer. This one's probably not going to be the best batch, but this is a demo. You kind of put that one to the side and then serve the real deal.
At first I was like, oh, we're not worth the best batch, huh?
No, we have a good one right here.
No, I'm kidding, Chef. Now that's interesting too, what you said about sometimes you got to be a dick. I kind of am the same way, not a dick, but I've always tried to be pretty nice. But I think it means more to the employees too when you when you do get a little upset, or they're like, well, okay.
Yeah, especially when you don't get upset very often, and then you have to get upset.
Yeah,
I think it's a little more impactful,
right? Yeah.
Because then you guys just have one of those yelling chefs, and you're like, it's
yeah.
whatever.
He's just yelling.
He's just nuts.
Yeah, that's how my kids are with me today. So it's like, shut up, Dad. I'm like, fair.
I don't want to overload. Usually I would strain this so I can get like some of the garlic in there, but I'm not going to overload the blender too. Usually I would break these up apart a little more, but I didn't really look at my mise en place I was handed. So
is it important before you're blending? I mean, obviously, room temperature, you don't want to throw this in the fridge overnight, right? But is it important that this stays fairly warm while you're blending it?
It's easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just like let it sit, and then it's easier when it's like a little blended, or a little warmer when you do this process.
Awesome.
So at this point, we're just going to do a mock of what this would usually be like. I actually add the Peking peppers after. This one's probably going to be spicy. I have a little bit of apple cider vinegar, just classically used in like Mexican cooking. I'll probably add like that much. And then a little salt. I'm going to use the salt. This is finishing salt, but I would use usually just regular salt. Then this is hot, so you want to be careful when you put it in the blender.
Please be careful.
I know. Watch me just like turn it full blast.
Oh my God.
Everybody's done that.
Here it is, Margie. Where is she? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
There you are.
So then you kind of just want to coarse blend it.
Every time I do that, Chef, I mean, it would be everywhere, guaranteed. And how smooth are you going on this, Chef? Are you going as smooth as you possibly can? Will you let this roll for a while, or do you want some particulates in there?
For this application, I like it a little more broken down, like broken up for the tuna tostada. When you have the nuts in there, like you'll see a lot of like the salsa machos will have like big chunks because they're not trying to blend the nuts. This one you can go pretty heavy on it because it's just the chili. So. Everybody, always wants to use guajillo and salsa. I think all the online recipes are like guajillo recipes, but it's like ancho morita's where it's at. And that's no added sugar, too. All right.
So I think you already have fans, so that's good. Pressure's, I think, totally off.
Awesome. So this is the soco block that we have from the tuna. So a lot of people don't know, like in Baja, there's a large Japanese settlement that came to that area, especially through Tijuana, post World War II. There's also a big Chinese population that ended up in Mexicali through the Colorado River Company building the railroads. So there's a lot of those influences, almost like you would see in Nikkei cuisine in Peru, but in our own little fun Baja way. So here we have our soco block with the fresh tuna. We're going to build the tostada. So if you know this tostada, this is what we serve at Diego. It's very similar. It looks very simple, but there's actually a lot of flavor going on, and there's a lot of very subtle ingredients. But what you don't know is that there's actually 3 sauces on this tuna tostada. I feel like a lot of people know me for wood fire cooking and fish work and things like that, but I honestly think one of my strengths is sauces. I love working with different sauces and recreating sauces, and it's almost kind of a blessing and a curse because I put a lot of sauces on my menu. So I think I was working out the new restaurant Trino, and I was like, shit, I did it again. Like there's too many sauces on the menu. Like this is a production nightmare. But yeah, I like to kind of play with sauces and just see like how they can be very subtle on dishes or can add just like an extra flavor. And I think it's always fun when it's always a fun process. So here we have 3 sauces on this dish. Well, let me cut the tuna first. So we are going to use a knife. So when I cut tuna, this is classic like Japanese standard. A lot of people like put their hand like a lot on like this or like that. I try to touch the tuna as like least as possible. So I just put my thumb here and I guide it and then use the whole knife. So I start at the very butt and then I go to the tip. And then I'm barely touching the tuna. And when you do touch the tuna, and like when you create like sushi, you can you get rid of that nice like shear that's on the fish because you're kind of putting your hands all over it. So that's kind of the preparation and why you would do something like so. So I only have one little baby tostada. I wish I brought a bigger one so you can kind of see it more in the presentation. But here what we have is what we call our diosa roja. This is essentially just playing off the salsa macha, but I love the tanginess of like kewpie mayo from Japan. And so it's essentially just kewpie mayo mixed with the salsa macha that we made already. So that adds a creamy component, but also just plays with the flavors that you're getting from the salsa macha. Salsa macha also adds like the smoky, the spice element into the dish. And then this element here is what we call our leche rojo. So this is going to be your like acidic component. It'll have the notes of like ginger. We slow roast tomatoes into this sauce as well. Tomatoes are high in umami and glutamate, and when you slow roast them, those flavors like start to come out of the tomato. So the acid component, we have the creaminess, the smokiness, and then we just add a little bit of each in order to like get all those. Pretty much you hit every single component across the palate, but still are very subtle to the tuna and kind of just complement it. All right, so now here we have our tuna. So on this tostada, I put the diosa roja, but I put a very thin amount. It's easy to put it like a big glob, and then you just have a bunch of mayonnaise, but it's just like a nice little smooth touch to it. And then here we're gonna put the tuna on.
Are there any dishes like you're like, this is my favorite dish that never made the menu? Anything like that ever happen with you, Chef?
Yeah, and then I bring some dishes back. Like with Trino, I'm like, that I did like as a special one day years ago, or that I thought was cool, but didn't really fit the, some of the other menus I was doing at like Diego or Entre Sueños. So I'm like, let's bring that back. This could be a cool like Trino dish, and ideas evolve and change. So then I'll kind of just do a new iteration of it. But yeah.
What's the dish, man? We all want to know.
The dish that I'm bringing back?
Is it huitlacoche bordelaise?
No, I've never made that. So, I mean, I've made
like it just sounded so good at the time. I was talking to Eater.
But not like a real true bordelaise variation of it. So, but yeah, I guess I'm going to be hitting that one pretty soon.
Yeah.
So this is an avocado. Very nice. This is a nice little avocado that we get from Mexico. They're Alejandrinas. They're the best. Mexican avocados are always better than California. And then we're just gonna slice this then. So we're gonna go here. That's good enough. And then we have our avocado, and then we'll just take one little slice. We'll put it on top of the tuna. We're going to use some of our molten salt. And then I'm actually going to put the leche. So just a few drops. And then the salsa macha. And I like to have a bigger pan because I'm very particular how you mix your salsa macha with the spoon with the cooks, because like if you don't, it's just like all oil, and so you want it to like stir and like kind of whisk it in like a larger like 6-pan, and so you can kind of get it to like not emulsify but like separate, and then it's like the perfect consistency to pour it. So like right now I got the particles suspended, and that's like the time to pour it right there. And that's it. And that is the little bite that you'll be eating tonight. And yeah.
Is there not a round of applause for that? I haven't needed to take a sip of water or anything this whole time. My mouth's just like watering. This looks amazing.